I think like what's important is that you've got the freedom there to try and express yourself and do that work and take on responsibility if you want it.
Job titles. They play a key role in every business for identifying positions, skills, and experience. And of course, externally, they help clients and contacts know exactly who they're dealing with. However, across all industries and businesses, job titles can vary wildly. Whether traditional, modern, simple, diverse, or creative, the many approaches are vast, unique, and sometimes even a little bit confusing. So, I want to know from the Journey Further team whether they believe there is a best approach and how, within our industry, job titles can go above and beyond for benefiting both colleagues and clients. Let's go.
I think it's the simpler the better, really. I think a really confusing and nuanced set of job titles can just really sort of confuse everyone in the team and around the team. Having said that, I do think it's important to pay attention to sort of individual strengths and aspirations within those same job titles.
A hierarchy of sorts is necessary, and I think like recognition is important. Going from an exec to an analyst or an analyst to a senior analyst, they're fairly important steps in your career. I think it's when you get to maybe 5 or 6 years in, you sort of feel like you've got a really good grasp of PPC, that you want to then specialise in maybe different things or other areas. I think it's like at that point where the title becomes less relevant. I'd never want to have to wait for a promotion or for somebody to put the word senior onto my job title before I started trying to do more of the work that interests me. I think like what's important is that you've got the freedom there to try and express yourself and do that work and take on responsibility if you want it.
At the same time, you hit two birds with one stone, because you allow people the freedom to do what they need to do and what they feel they're best at. And as your example, whether that involves keyword research, market analysis, or like competitive analysis, or finding technical issues, you're doing what needs to be done, but at the same time, you can focus on one practice and like make yourself better. And in the future, you're probably a pleasant surprise. You're the person to go to for getting training or getting some insights on that specific matter.
Maggie, we are talking about all things job titles this week, and particularly how a simplified approach can often be really beneficial. Now, I know in your past roles before Journey Further, you've held quite a few different titles despite doing largely the same thing. Talk to us a little bit about that and how at Journey Further, I know you guys are doing things a little bit differently.
I've always been into conversions. I've been in conversion for the last 5 to 6 years, but my titles have changed as my jobs have changed. I started off as website marketing executive, which was basically the same thing because we were testing copy on the Tesco website, digital optimization analyst, e-commerce manager. And while I was there, my role changed to be product owner, which again is very much the same thing. So been called loads of different things throughout different roles, and then joined Journey Further, and we joined as conversion specialist. Johnny Longdon, the manager, he's really flexible with everything, and he's asked actually what job title we want, which is something that I've never experienced. Going forward, he wants to make it so that we can choose our own specialist title, so that I would maybe be more into psychology, so it'd be more around conversion specialist with psychology or something like that, so we can chase different areas, which then gives us more scope to be able to really focus into something that we really enjoy, which again, really cool way of working.
On the flip side then, Steve, what are the challenges of having a simplified job title structure, and when can more specific titles be helpful for partners and clients?
I am sort of like a team leader, I guess, in the PPC team. So I manage 5 other people. That's different to another senior analyst in the team who doesn't have that management responsibility, who's probably way better at PPC than I am because they're specialised in that, whereas I'm going down more of the management route. So potentially from a client's benefit, you can see why maybe a diversification of those roles would be useful.
Second challenge with keeping it streamlined, I think, comes with recruitment. Whilst you may have a will to keep the titles in your team streamlined, you do somewhat need to look at what's happening in the wider industry and the titles that are happening in similar roles. And that is because potential candidates do have an understanding of roles from other companies, and they may be drawn to certain titles. They may seek out certain titles when looking for a career move. So you do have to be mindful of what's happening in the industry as well, and kind of find a collection of job titles that make sense for the individuals, your team, but make it known externally as well what that role is.
And finally, we have to give a nod to the quirky, unique job titles that have become increasingly common in recent years, particularly within the digital sector. Positions such as full stack magician, workstation evangelist, data storyteller, happiness engineer, the list goes on. All really creative, really original, and certainly very different. So, if our team were to customise their titles to follow suit, what would they be?
It'd probably be conversion guru, because I like the whole guru sense. You know, it sounds a bit Apple-esque or something. So
I think I'd take inspiration from the most well-known quirky job title of the people who stand behind the counter at Subway and make your sandwich. They call themselves a sandwich artist. So I think I would go for paid search artist.
SEO Riddler. Just like I like connecting the dots between, stuff. So I guess it sounds cool as well.